He abandoned me on the road for her. After Rebirth, I let him face the storm alone. Darkness swallows me as the headlights fade into the distance, rain slashing against my face like tiny needles of betrayal. Please, Ryan, don't do this, I whisper, my words drowned by thunder. 5 years together, and he leaves me stranded on this desolate highway because Vanessa battered her eyelashes. My fingers tremble as I reach for my phone. Dead, just like our relationship. Lightning illuminates the road ahead, stretching endlessly into nothingness. I sink to my knees, mud soaking through my designer jeans, the ones Ryan always complimented. The irony burns. I was racing to surprise him with news of my promotion when my car broke down. Now he's abandoned me for her, thinking I'll disappear from his story. But fate has other plans. As the truck's headlights blind me, time slows. My last thought isn't fear, but promise. This isn't how my story ends. Then darkness, then light, then breath. I open my eyes to white walls and beeping machines, but something's different. I remember everything. My death, my life before, and most importantly, Ryan's betrayal. This rebirth isn't chance, it's opportunity. And this time, when the storm comes for Ryan Parker, I'll be watching from safe, dry ground. The rain pounded against the windshield, nearly drowning out the sputtering sounds of my dying engine. I pulled over to the shoulder, the hazard lights blinking weakly as my car gave one final shudder before going silent. Perfect timing. Just perfect. I checked my phone, only 5% battery left, and called Ryan. Hey, it's me. My car broke down on Highway 16, about 20 miles outside the city. Can you come get me? I have amazing news. Emma, now's not really a good time, he said, music and laughter in the background. I'm at Mike's birthday thing, remember? I did remember. I also remembered declining because I had to finish a major presentation for work. The presentation that had just earned me the promotion I was rushing to tell him about. Ryan, please. It's pouring, and I'm stuck out here alone. He sighed. Give me the exact mile marker. I'll see what I can do. Relief washed over me. Thank you. Mile marker 67. I love you. Yeah, you too, he muttered before hanging up. I waited in my car, watching raindrops race down the windows while rehearsing how I'd tell him about the promotion. Senior marketing director at 28, the youngest in company history. Ryan had been supportive of my career, even when it meant late nights and missed dinners. Or at least, I thought he had been. 2 hours passed, my phone died, the temperature dropped. Still no Ryan. Another hour crawled by. Finally, headlights appeared, slowing as they approached. I stepped out, rain immediately soaking through my thin blouse. But instead of Ryan's familiar sedan, a truck pulled over. The window rolled down, revealing a middle-aged man with kind eyes. You need help, miss? No, thank you. My boyfriend's on his way, I said, the confidence in my voice wavering. He nodded. If you're sure, be careful out here. As the truck pulled away, I felt the first twinge of doubt. Where was Ryan? Eventually, more headlights appeared. This time, it was him. Relief quickly turned to confusion when I saw Vanessa, his co-worker, in the passenger seat. Her perfectly styled blonde hair and red lips stood in stark contrast to my drenched, bedraggled appearance. Ryan, thank God, I said, rushing toward the car. I've been waiting for hours. He didn't meet my eyes. Sorry, the party ran late. I glanced at Vanessa, who gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hi, Emma. Ryan was just giving me a ride home when he remembered about you. Remembered about me? Like I was an errand he'd forgotten to run? Get in, Ryan said, gesturing to the back seat. We'll drop Vanessa off first since it's on the way. The injustice of it hit me like a slap. Ryan, I've been stranded in the rain for over 3 hours and you want me to sit in the back while you drop her off first. Don't be dramatic, Emma. It's just practical. Practical? My voice rose. What's practical about making me wait for hours while you party? What's practical about bringing her along instead of coming straight to help me? Ryan's jaw tightened. I said, "Get in the car, Emma." "No," I said firmly. "I want to know what's going on. Why is she even with you?" Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. Ryan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "Emma," he said slowly, "don't make a scene." "A scene? I'm soaking wet, freezing, and my boyfriend of 5 years makes me wait for hours, then shows up with another woman. What exactly am I supposed to do?" Ryan turned to Vanessa. "Give us a minute." She nodded, stepping out and standing under the small overhang of a nearby emergency call box, somehow staying perfectly dry while I continued to get drenched. "Look," Ryan said once we were alone, "I don't think this is working anymore." I stared at him, uncomprehending. "What isn't working?" "Us. You're always at work, always focused on your next achievement. When was the last time you asked about my day, my dreams? It's like I'm just an accessory to your perfect life plan." "That's not true," I protested, thinking of all the times I'd supported his photography hobby, all the gallery showings I'd attended, all the equipment I'd helped him buy. "Vanessa and I, we've gotten close." The pieces clicked together. The late nights at the office, the new cologne, the sudden interest in art exhibits that weren't his style. "You're leaving me for her," I said flatly. He didn't deny it. "Emma, I'm sorry. I didn't plan this." "So, this is it? 5 years together and you're breaking up with me on the side of the road in a thunderstorm? You can get in the car. We'll drop you at a hotel." "A hotel?" I laughed bitterly. "My apartment is our apartment, Ryan. Where am I supposed to go?" He looked away. "I'll ship your things. You can stay with your sister until you find a place." My sister lived in Boston, 800 miles away. "You planned this," I realized. "You've been waiting for the right moment to discard me." "That's not fair." "Fair?" I was screaming now, rain mixing with tears on my face. "What's fair about any of this?" Ryan's face hardened. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Everything's always about you and your feelings. I'm done, Emma." He got back in the car. Vanessa quickly climbed in beside him, not sparing me a glance. "Ryan, please," I begged, sudden fear gripping me. "Don't leave me here." "There's a truck stop 2 miles down the road," he said, not looking at me. "You can call someone from there." 2 miles? In this storm? "Ryan, please." But he was already rolling up the window. The car pulled away, red taillights disappearing into the darkness, leaving me alone on the deserted highway. I stood in shock, rain pounding against my body, my promotion forgotten. 5 years of my life washed away like footprints in the sand. I started walking, my designer heels sinking into mud, each step a struggle. The storm intensified, lightning illuminating the empty road ahead. My thoughts raced. How could he do this? What had I missed? Was Vanessa laughing at me from the warm, dry passenger seat? My foot caught on something and I stumbled, twisting my ankle. Pain shot up my leg as I fell to the ground. I tried to stand but couldn't put weight on it. Frustrated tears mixed with rain on my face. The highway stretched endlessly before me, dark and unforgiving. No cars passed. The rain showed no signs of letting up. I dragged myself to the roadside, hoping to be more visible to passing vehicles. Thunder crashed overhead. I huddled against the guardrail, soaked and shivering, fighting to stay conscious as the cold seeped into my bones. Through the sheets of rain, I saw a glimmer of light. Headlights. Someone was coming. I waved frantically, desperate to be seen through the downpour. The vehicle was moving fast, too fast for these conditions. The truck swerved suddenly. Maybe the driver saw me too late. Or maybe they hit a patch of standing water. Time seemed to slow as the massive vehicle hydroplaned toward me. In that final moment, I didn't think about my life, or my achievements. I thought about Ryan, about how he'd thrown away our years together like they meant nothing, about how he'd left me to die alone on this road. And I made a silent promise. This isn't the end. This isn't how my story was supposed to go. Then came the impact. Darkness, silence, and then, inexplicably, light. The beeping of machines pulled me from darkness. My eyelids felt heavy, but I forced them open. White walls, the antiseptic smell of a hospital room, an IV in my arm. I was alive? No, not just alive. Something was different. My mind felt clearer, sharper, like a fog had lifted. I remembered everything. The broken down car, Ryan abandoning me, the oncoming truck. But I also remembered more. I remembered dying. I remembered the darkness that followed. And I remembered what came after. A strange, timeless void where I'd reviewed my entire life and seen all the warning signs I'd missed with Ryan. "Oh, you're awake." A nurse rushed to my side, checking my vitals. "How are you feeling, Miss Bennett?" "Confused," I answered honestly. "What happened?" "You were in an accident. A truck hit you on Highway 16 during that terrible storm 3 nights ago. You're lucky to be alive. The driver called 911 immediately and performed CPR until the ambulance arrived. 3 nights ago, I'd lost 3 days." "Has anyone been to see me?" I asked, already knowing the answer. The nurse checked her chart. "Your emergency contact was notified. Ryan Parker? But he hasn't come in." She hesitated. "Would you like me to try calling him again?" "No," I said firmly. "In fact, please remove him as my emergency contact. Call my sister Claire instead." The nurse looked surprised but nodded. "The doctor will be in shortly to discuss your condition. You have some bruising and a mild concussion, but miraculously, no broken bones." After she left, I lay back against the pillows, processing everything. I should have been devastated by Ryan's absence, but instead I felt strangely calm. Empowered even. I had been given a second chance, and I knew exactly what to do with it. Claire arrived the next day, her face tight with worry. "Emma, my God, why didn't you call me when your car broke down?" "My phone died," I explained, "and I thought Ryan was coming." Her expression darkened. "That bastard, I called him when the hospital contacted me. Do you know what he said? That you two had broken up and it wasn't his problem anymore?" In my previous life, because that's how I thought of it now, I would have defended him, made excuses. This time, I simply nodded. "He's right about one thing. We are broken up." I smiled at her confusion. "Claire, I need a favour. Can I stay with you for a while?" "Of course," she said without hesitation. "As long as you need." "And one more thing," I added. "Could you go to Ryan's apartment and get my things? I don't want to see him." 2 weeks later, I was settled in Claire's spare bedroom in Boston, my possessions neatly arranged around me. Among them was a small box of memorabilia I'd collected during my relationship with Ryan. Concert tickets, birthday cards, the keys to our first apartment together. I should have thrown it all away, but something told me to keep it. Evidence, perhaps, of who he really was beneath the charming facade. Claire watched with concern as I methodically sorted through the remnants of my old life. "Are you really okay? You seem different." I smiled. "I am different. Near-death experiences have that effect on people." "It's more than that," she insisted. "You're so calm about all this. The old Emma would have been a wreck." "The old Emma died on that highway," I said quietly. "I'm still figuring out who the new one is." That night, I created a new email address and set up accounts on all major social media platforms. Not under my name, but under a pseudonym, Ellie Masters. Then I found Ryan online. His profile picture had already changed to one with Vanessa, both of them smiling at some rooftop bar. The caption read, "Sometimes the wrong turns lead you to the right place." I felt nothing but cold determination as I scrolled through their photos. They looked happy, their relationship already public. How long had they been together behind my back? Months, probably. I opened a new document and began typing, meticulously noting dates, events, and patterns from our relationship. Times Ryan had been working late, that coincided with Vanessa's social media posts from the same locations. Money missing from our joint account that I'd attributed to his photography expenses. The picture that emerged was clear. Ryan had been planning his exit for nearly a year. Next, I researched Vanessa more thoroughly. LinkedIn revealed she'd moved from company to company every 24 months, always landing in positions slightly above her qualifications. Her Instagram told a different story than her professional profile: lavish vacations, designer clothes, expensive restaurants. How did she afford that lifestyle on her salary? I dug deeper. A pattern emerged. At each company, she'd gotten close to a male superior shortly before her promotions or moves. Ryan wasn't her first mentor, he probably wouldn't be her last. Claire found me at 3 a.m, still hunched over my laptop. "Emma, what are you doing?" "Research," I said, not looking up. "This isn't healthy," she said gently. "You need to move on, not obsess over them." I finally turned to face her. "I'm not obsessing. I'm preparing." "For what?" "For the next chapter," I said enigmatically. Over the next month, I reinvented myself. I dyed my chestnut hair platinum blonde, not because Ryan had a type, but because I wanted no physical reminder of who I used to be. I used my savings to buy a new wardrobe, sleeker and more sophisticated than my former conservative style. I joined a gym and hired a personal trainer, channeling my anger into physical strength. Claire watched my transformation with a mixture of admiration and concern. "I'm glad you're taking care of yourself, but I'm worried about your motivation." "Don't be," I assured her. "This isn't about Ryan. It's about me becoming who I was always meant to be." It wasn't entirely a lie. This rebirth had shown me how much time I'd wasted trying to please others, particularly Ryan. I dimmed my ambition, downplayed my successes, made myself smaller to fit into the space he'd allocated for me in his life. Never again. When a headhunter called about a marketing director position at Axion Industries, one of the top firms in Boston, I was ready. The role offered more responsibility and nearly double my previous salary. I aced the interviews and received an offer within a week. 2 months after the accident, I was fully immersed in my new life. New city, new job, new appearance, new mindset. I kept tabs on Ryan and Vanessa through my fake accounts, but invested less emotional energy in it. They were living their lives, and I was living mine. Until the email arrived. "Dear Miss Bennett, I hope this email finds you well. I'm the VP of Operations at Sterling Communications in Chicago. We've been impressed with Axion's recent campaigns and are interested in discussing a potential collaboration on an upcoming national product launch. I'll be in Boston next week and would appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. Would Wednesday at 2 p.m. work for your schedule? Best regards, Michael Johnson." I stared at the name for a long moment. Mike Johnson. The same Mike whose birthday party Ryan had been attending the night he abandoned me. The party that had been more important than my safety. This couldn't be a coincidence. I checked Sterling's website. There he was, Michael Johnson, VP of Operations, and further down the page, another familiar face. Ryan Parker, Creative Director. So Ryan had gotten a promotion too. And now his company wanted to work with mine. I typed a polite acceptance to Mike's meeting request, my mind already racing with possibilities. This wasn't just a coincidence, it was an opportunity. The following Wednesday, I met Mike at an upscale restaurant near my office. He was exactly as I remembered from the few times I'd met him during my relationship with Ryan. Tall, athletically built, with salt and pepper hair and an easy smile. "Emma Bennett," he said, extending his hand. It's good to see you again." His choice of words confirmed my suspicion. He remembered me. Did he know what Ryan had done? Had he been part of the cover-up? "Again?" I said, keeping my tone light. "I don't believe we've met before." Confusion flashed across his face. "I'm sorry, I thought... You were dating Ryan Parker, weren't you?" I tilted my head, eyes wide with practiced innocence. "Ryan Parker? The name sounds vaguely familiar. Does he work at Sterling?" Mike's discomfort was palpable. "Yes, he's our creative director. I could have sworn... Never mind. My mistake." I smiled graciously. "No problem. Shall we discuss the collaboration?" Throughout lunch, Mike kept stealing glances at me, clearly trying to reconcile my appearance with his memory. I maintained the charade, discussing marketing strategies and budget projections with confident expertise while pretending complete ignorance of Ryan's existence. As we parted, Mike hesitated. "This might sound odd, but would you be interested in coming to Chicago next month? We're hosting a gala for our major clients, and having Axion represented would be valuable." "I'd be delighted," I said. "Send me the details." That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. "It was great seeing you today, Emma. You look... different. In a good way. This is Mike, by the way. Got your number from your assistant." So, he was fishing for information? I replied simply, "Thank you for the meeting. Looking forward to the collaboration." He responded immediately. "About what I said earlier, I could have sworn I met you before." "With Ryan Parker?" I waited an hour before replying. "I just Googled him. Handsome guy. Never dated him, though. I think I would remember that face." The winking emoji was a calculated risk. Just flirtatious enough to keep him intrigued without seeming unprofessional. Mike's response came quickly. "My mistake then. Still, looking forward to seeing you at the gala. Ryan will be there too. You two should meet." And there it was. The invitation I'd been waiting for. The chance to re-enter Ryan's life, not as the heartbroken ex he'd discarded, but as a successful, confident woman he wouldn't recognise. I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. I look forward to meeting everyone at Sterling. Over the next few weeks, I prepared meticulously for the Chicago trip. I researched everyone at Sterling, especially the executives who would attend the gala. I had a custom gown designed, blood red, sleek, with a dramatic back that would ensure all eyes were on me when I entered a room. I practiced conversation topics, refined my backstory, and even took dancing lessons to ensure I'd be flawless on every front. Claire watched my preparations with growing concern. "Emma, what's really going on with this gala? You're acting like you're preparing for battle, not a business event." "In a way, I am," I admitted. "Sterling Communications is Ryan's company." Her eyes widened. "And you're willingly walking into that? Emma, no good can come from this." "You're wrong," I said calmly. "This isn't about revenge. It's about closure, about facing my past from a position of strength." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't try to stop me either. The night of the gala arrived, and I stepped into the grand ballroom of Chicago's North Lake Hotel with deliberate poise. The room was opulent. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, ice sculptures. Corporate luxury at its finest. I spotted Mike immediately. He was talking to a group of men in dark suits, laughing at something one of them had said. I made my way toward him, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. "Emma!" Mike exclaimed when he saw me breaking away from his group. "You look stunning." "Thank you," I said, accepting his compliment with a gracious smile. "This is quite the event you've put together." "Only the best for our partners," he said, guiding me toward his colleagues. "Let me introduce you to some people." For the next hour, I circulated through the room, charming executives and clients alike with my knowledge of the industry and subtle wit. I could feel eyes on me, appreciative male gazes, curious female ones. But there was only one person I was waiting to encounter. And then, there he was. Ryan stood across the room, looking exactly as I remembered, yet somehow diminished. His dark hair was styled the same way. His tailored suit emphasized his athletic build, and he still had that confident smile that had once made my heart race. But now, seeing him through my new eyes, I noticed the calculating glint behind his charm, the way his attention shifted when someone more important entered his orbit. Next to him stood Vanessa, sleek in a black designer dress, her hand possessively on his arm. She looked slightly older than in her social media photos, with a hardness around her eyes that no filter could hide. I turned away before they could spot me, whispering to Mike, "Is there a ladies' room nearby? I need to freshen up." "Of course," he said, pointing toward a hallway. "Down there on the left." I thanked him and slipped away, timing my return to coincide with the moment Mike would inevitably introduce Ryan to the new partner from Axion. When I re-entered the ballroom, I saw Mike leading Ryan and Vanessa toward the spot where he'd left me. I circled around, approaching from a different angle, letting them search for a moment before appearing at Mike's side. "Sorry for the delay," I said. "The line was longer than expected." Mike turned, relief evident on his face. "Emma, perfect timing. I'd like you to meet our creative director, Ryan Parker, and his girlfriend, Vanessa Caldwell, who heads our client relations team." I extended my hand, meeting Ryan's eyes directly. "Emma Bennett. Pleasure to meet you both." Ryan took my hand, his expression professionally pleasant. Then, as our eyes locked, I saw the first flicker of confusion. Recognition, buried beneath layers of denial. He held my hand a moment too long. "Have we met before?" he asked, his voice slightly strained. I smiled enigmatically. "I don't believe so. I have one of those faces, I suppose." Vanessa's eyes narrowed, her gaze darting between Ryan and me. "Ryan, darling, didn't you say you needed to speak with the Westridge clients? They just arrived." "In a moment," he said, not looking at her. "Miss Bennett, you work at Axion Industries?" "Senior Marketing Director," I confirmed. "I've been with them for about 6 months now." "Before that?" His question was too direct, too personal for a first meeting. "I had a similar position in Chicago, actually," I said, the lie flowing easily. "Though I doubt our paths crossed. I would have remembered." Mike, sensing the strange tension, attempted to lighten the mood. "Ryan was convinced he knew you when I mentioned your name. Thought you were an ex-girlfriend or something." I laughed, the sound bright and unconcerned. "Sorry to disappoint. I've never dated anyone at Sterling." Ryan's face had paled slightly. Vanessa tightened her grip on his arm. "Well, it's been lovely meeting you both," I said, "but I see my colleague over there. If you'll excuse me." I walked away, feeling Ryan's eyes following me. Perfect. The seed of doubt was planted. Throughout the evening, I caught Ryan staring at me multiple times. Each time, I'd meet his gaze briefly, then look away with mild disinterest. During dinner, I was seated at a different table, but I could still feel his attention from across the room. After dinner came dancing. Mike asked me for the first dance, and I accepted, allowing him to lead me around the floor with surprising grace. When the song ended, he was called away by a client, leaving me at the edge of the dance floor. I knew who would approach next. "May I have this dance?" Ryan's voice came from behind me exactly as I'd anticipated. I turned, affecting slight surprise. "Mr. Parker? Of course." He led me to the center of the floor, one hand at my waist, the other holding mine. Even through the fabric of my dress, I could feel the familiar warmth of his touch. Once, it would have thrilled me. Now, it meant nothing. "I know we've met before," he said quietly as we moved to the music. "Something about you is so familiar." I met his gaze calmly. "Perhaps I remind you of someone. A former client, maybe?" "No," he said firmly. "It's more than that." I raised an eyebrow. "Does your girlfriend know you're interrogating other women at company events?" His eyes flickered to where Vanessa stood watching us, her expression carefully neutral. "This isn't... I'm not..." He took a breath. "I apologize if I'm being inappropriate. You just seem so familiar, and it's driving me crazy." "Well, we can't have that," I said, my tone light but with an edge. "What would help you, Mr. Parker? Would you like my life story, my previous addresses, the names of all my ex-boyfriends?" He flushed. "No, of course not. I'm sorry." As the song ended, I stepped back from his embrace. "Don't worry about it. We all think we know people we don't sometimes. It's a basic psychological phenomenon, the brain trying to create connections, find patterns that..." "Right," he said, still looking troubled. "Enjoy the rest of your evening, Mr. Parker, and congratulations on your promotion to creative director. From what I hear, it was quite recent." His eyes sharpened at that. "How did you know that?" I smiled. "Research, Mr. Parker. I always research potential business partners thoroughly." I nodded toward Vanessa, who was now making her way toward us. "Your girlfriend is coming. I should go." I walked away before Vanessa reached us, feeling a cold satisfaction at the confusion I'd left in my wake. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I had a breakfast meeting scheduled with Sterling's executive team to discuss the collaboration further. I arrived early, deliberately selecting a seat that would place Ryan directly across from me. When he entered the conference room, his eyes immediately found mine. The confusion from last night had hardened into suspicion. Good. Let him wonder. Throughout the meeting, I was professional and focused, presenting Action's vision for the collaboration with confident expertise. Ryan spoke little, his attention fixed on me, searching for clues in my gestures, my voice, my mannerisms. When the meeting ended, most of the executives filed out, leaving me, Ryan, and 2 others. As I gathered my materials, Ryan approached. "Miss Bennett, do you have a moment?" "Of course," I said pleasantly. He waited until the others had left before speaking again. "I know this is going to sound strange, but I need to ask. Did you ever live in Chicago before? About 6 months ago?" I tilted my head. "Mr. Parker, is this relevant to our business relationship?" "Please," he said, a note of desperation creeping into his voice. "Just answer the question." I sighed, as if indulging a tiresome child. "No, Mr. Parker, I did not live in Chicago 6 months ago. I was in Boston, where I've been for the past year. Before that, New York. Why does this matter so much to you?" He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it almost broke my composure. "You remind me of someone I used to know. Someone I... lost." "Lost?" I echoed, raising an eyebrow. "How tragic. Did she die?" The bluntness of my question caught him off guard. Yes, actually, in an accident." "I'm sorry for your loss," I said, my voice deliberately neutral. "But I'm not her. I'm very much alive, as you can see." "Of course," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to imply, it's just... the resemblance is uncanny." "Is it?" I gathered my portfolio, preparing to leave. "Well, they say everyone has a doppelganger somewhere in the world. Perhaps I'm hers." "Perhaps," he agreed, though he didn't sound convinced. At the door, I paused, unable to resist one final twist of the knife. "Oh, and Mr. Parker, you might want to be more careful about discussing your dead ex-girlfriend with business associates. It could be misinterpreted." His face paled. "How did you know she was my ex?" I smiled sweetly. "You just told me, didn't you? Good day, Mr. Parker." I left him standing in the conference room, confusion and suspicion warring on his face. Phase 1 of my plan was complete. Ryan was rattled, questioning his reality, wondering if he was losing his mind, or if I was somehow the woman he had left to die in that storm. Over the next few weeks, as our companies worked closely on the collaboration, I maintained a professional distance from Ryan while arranging situations where we'd inevitably interact. Each time, I'd drop a hint, a phrase Emma would have used, a reference to a place we'd visited together, a mannerism that was uniquely mine, never enough to confirm his suspicions, but enough to keep them alive. Meanwhile, I learned more about his relationship with Vanessa. They were living together now, in a sleek downtown condo paid for mostly by her, despite Ryan's promotion. She'd been pushing for an engagement, but Ryan had been hesitant, citing their relatively short time together. The strain was beginning to show. At a project meeting, I overheard them arguing in a conference room, her voice sharp with accusation. "You've been obsessed with her since the gala. Do you think I'm blind? Do you think I don't see the way you look at her?" Ryan's response was too low to hear, but Vanessa's wasn't. "She's nothing special, Ryan. Just some corporate climber who happens to look a bit like your dead ex. Get over it." I smiled to myself, feeling a cold satisfaction. The cracks were forming precisely as I'd anticipated. The next stage of my plan required more direct action. I scheduled a business trip to Chicago, ostensibly to finalise details of our collaboration. I booked a hotel room in the same building where Ryan and Vanessa lived, not a coincidence, but a calculated move. On my second evening there, I timed my departure from the hotel to coincide with when I knew Ryan typically returned from work. As I stepped into the elevator, the doors were about to close when a hand shot out to stop them. Ryan stepped in, his eyes widening when he saw me. "Miss Bennett, I didn't realise you were staying here." "Mr. Parker," I acknowledged with a nod. "Yes, just for a few days, finalising the campaign details." The elevator began its descent, the tension between us nearly palpable in the confined space. "You know," he said suddenly, "I looked you up. There's almost nothing about you online before last year. No social media, no press mentions, nothing." I raised an eyebrow. Should I be concerned that my business partner is stalking me? "Not stalking," he defended. "Due diligence. Is that what you call it?" The elevator stopped, doors opening to the lobby. Neither of us moved. "Wow, Mr. Parker, not everyone lives their life online. Some of us prefer privacy." "The Emma I knew loved social media," he said, his voice low. "She documented everything." The mask of indifference I'd so carefully constructed threatened to slip. He'd used my name, my real name. The pretense was crumbling. I met his gaze steadily. "I'm not the Emma you knew, Mr. Parker. I'm not the woman you left to die on Highway 16 during a thunderstorm." His face drained of colour. "What did you say?" "You heard me," I said calmly, stepping out of the elevator. "Enjoy your evening." I walked away, heart pounding, knowing he would follow. He caught up to me at the hotel entrance, grabbing my arm. "How do you know about that?" he demanded. "Who are you?" I looked pointedly at his hand until he released me. "I told you, I do my research on business partners, and you, Ryan Parker, have quite the interesting history." "That's not possible," he whispered. "That information isn't public. No one knows what happened that night except you," I finished for him, "and Vanessa, and the trucker who found my body." Ryan staggered back as if I'd struck him. "This is insane. You can't be her. Emma is dead." "Am I?" I stepped closer, dropping my voice. "Are you sure about that, Ryan? Are you absolutely certain the woman you abandoned on that highway died that night?" His breathing became ragged. "I saw the news reports, the obituary. The funeral was closed casket because of the damage, but there was a funeral. I sent flowers." "How thoughtful," I said coldly. "Flowers for the woman you left to die." "I didn't," he began, then stopped. "This isn't possible. You're playing mind games with me." A couple walked past, glancing curiously at us. I smiled professionally and took a step back. "Think what you want, Mr. Parker. But know this. I'm aware of exactly what happened that night. Every detail, every word spoken, every promise broken. I turned to leave, but he caught my arm again. "Wait," he pleaded. "Just tell me who you really are." I looked at his hand until he released me again. "You know who I am. You've always known. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" I left him standing in the lobby, confusion and fear etched across his face. Phase 2 complete. Ryan now believed I might actually be Emma. His Emma, returned from the dead to haunt him. The next morning, I received a flurry of text messages from Mike, asking if everything was okay with the project. Reading between the lines, it was clear that Ryan was unravelling, potentially jeopardising the collaboration. I reassured Mike that everything was proceeding as planned, from Axion's perspective, while privately revelling in the chaos I was creating. Ryan had spent the night researching resurrection, near-death experiences, and cases of mistaken death pronouncements. His browser history revealed as much when I accidentally glimpsed his laptop screen during our next meeting. Vanessa was losing patience. During a presentation, Ryan became so distracted watching me that he completely missed his cue to speak. Her venomous glare bounced between us, her perfectly manicured nails tapping an angry rhythm on the conference table. After the meeting, I overheard them arguing again, this time more heatedly. "You need help, Ryan," Vanessa hissed. "Professional help. This obsession with whether she's your dead ex-girlfriend is destroying you. And us." "You don't understand," he insisted. "There are things she knows, things only Emma could know." "Like what?" Vanessa demanded. "Tell me one thing she said that only Emma would know." A pause. "She mentioned Highway 16, the storm. She knows I left Emma there." Vanessa's laugh was sharp and dismissive. "And you don't think someone could have researched that? Police reports are public record, Ryan. If this woman is trying to mess with you, she could easily have found those details." "Why would she do that?" Ryan asked, his voice strained. "I don't know," Vanessa exclaimed. "Maybe she's a psycho. Maybe she's after your job. Maybe she just gets off on manipulating men. What I do know is that she's not your dead girlfriend come back to life, because that's not how reality works." Their voices faded as they moved further down the hall, but I'd heard enough. Vanessa was right about one thing. I wasn't Emma come back from the dead. But I was Emma reborn, with a clarity and purpose I'd never possessed before. That evening, I accidentally ran into Ryan at the hotel bar. He was alone, nursing a whiskey, his appearance more dishevelled than I'd ever seen him. When he spotted me, he straightened, a strange mixture of fear and hope crossing his face. I could have walked away. Part of me, the kinder part that had survived despite everything, wanted to. But the colder, calculating part that had been born on that rainy highway knew this was the perfect opportunity for the final phase of my plan. I took the seat beside him, ordering a martini. "Rough day, Mr. Parker." He studied me, bloodshot eyes narrowed. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" I asked innocently. "Having a drink after work?" "You know what I mean," he said, voice low and intense. "This, whatever game you're playing." I sipped my martini, savouring the moment. "Not everything is about you, Ryan. I'm here on business." "Bullshit," he spat. "You're here to torment me, to make me think I'm losing my mind. And why would I want to do that?" "Because you think I'm responsible for Emma's death," he said, the words coming out in a rush. "Because I left her on that highway." I set down my glass, turning to face him fully. Am I what? Responsible for her death?" He flinched, looking away. "I didn't know the truck would hit her. I thought she'd be safe, that she'd make it to the truck stop." "In a thunderstorm? With a twisted ankle 2 miles away?" Each question was a dagger, precisely aimed. "Tell me, Ryan, What was going through your mind when you drove away? Were you already imagining your new life with Vanessa? Was Emma just an inconvenient loose end to tie up? His hand shook as he reached for his drink. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I pressed. Explain it to me. Help me understand how a man could leave a woman he claimed to love stranded in a deadly storm. I didn't love her anymore, he admitted, the words slurring slightly. I hadn't for months. I was going to break it off after the holidays, do it right, but then her car broke down and she was so demanding, as always, and Vanessa was there and I snapped. You snapped, I repeated flatly. That's your excuse? Poor Ryan, pushed to his breaking point by his inconsiderate girlfriend needing a ride during a storm. You don't understand, he insisted. Emma was always like that, always putting her needs first, her career first. I was just, furniture in her life, a convenient accessory. The irony was almost too much. Here he was rewriting our entire relationship to cast himself as the victim. In my previous life, I might have believed him, might have apologized for being so selfish, but not anymore. And Vanessa was different, I asked. More attentive, more devoted, less focused on her own ambitions. He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw the truth dawn on him. Vanessa was exactly like the Emma he'd described, career-driven, self-focused, ambitious. The only difference was that she'd chosen him as part of her climb up the corporate ladder, while I had genuinely loved him despite my drive to succeed. It doesn't matter now, he said finally. Emma's gone, and I have to live with what I did for the rest of my life. I leaned closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. But what if she isn't gone, Ryan? What if she came back? His eyes widened. Who are you? Really? I stood, leaving money for my barely touched drink. I think, deep down, you already know. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? The next morning, Ryan didn't show up for our scheduled meeting. Mike apologetically explained that he had called in sick, first time in years apparently. Vanessa was coldly professional, filling in for Ryan without missing a beat, though the tension around her eyes told a different story. As I left Sterling's offices that afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I need to see you, alone, please. 8 p.m. Lincoln Park by the South Pond. I smiled to myself. Perfect. The park was nearly deserted when I arrived, a light drizzle keeping most visitors away. Ryan stood by the water, shoulders hunched against the rain, looking much as he had on that stormy night 6 months ago. Thank you for coming, he said as I approached, his voice hoarse. Why did you ask me here, Ryan? He took a deep breath. Because I need to know the truth. I need to know if you're really her. And if I am? I asked. What then? Then I need to apologize, he said, his voice breaking, for what I did that night, for leaving you there, for everything. I studied him in the dim light, searching for sincerity in his face. Was he truly remorseful, or just terrified of the ghost he thought I was? You're sorry, because you think I'm Emma's vengeful spirit, I said flatly, not because what you did was wrong. No, that's not true, he protested. I've regretted it every day since it happened. I've barely slept. I can't focus. I see her, you, everywhere. And yet, you're still with Vanessa, I pointed out, still enjoying your promotion, your new apartment, your comfortable life built on the foundation of her death. He flinched. What do you want from me? To say I'm a monster? Fine, I'm a monster. To say I don't deserve happiness, I know that. I live with that knowledge every day. What I want, I said slowly, is for you to experience what she felt that night. The betrayal, the abandonment, the slow realization that the person you trusted most in the world has left you to die. His face paled. What are you going to do? I stepped closer. Nothing, Ryan. I don't need to do anything. You're destroying yourself quite effectively on your own. Your relationship is crumbling, your work is suffering, your mind is fracturing under the weight of your guilt. All I had to do was show up and watch. Then you are her, he whispered. Somehow you survived, changed your appearance, and came back to torment me. I smiled enigmatically. Does it matter? Whether I'm Emma resurrected, a look-alike with detailed knowledge of your crime, or a figment of your guilty conscience. The result is the same. The rain intensified, plastering his hair to his forehead, much as mine had been that night on the highway. Please, he begged, reaching for me. Just tell me the truth. Are you Emma? I stepped back, avoiding his touch. The Emma you knew died that night on Highway 16, Ryan. She died waiting for you to come back, hoping until her last breath that you'd change your mind. But a new Emma was born from that tragedy, stronger, clearer, and free from the illusion that she needed you. I don't understand, he said, confusion etched across his face. You don't need to, I replied. You just need to live with the consequences of what you did. Every day, for the rest of your life, wondering if the woman you see across a crowded room might be her, wondering if she's watching, waiting, planning her next move. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. I loved you, you know, he said quietly. Before everything went wrong. I looked back at him, rain streaming down my face like tears I refused to shed. No, Ryan, you loved the idea of me, the successful girlfriend who made you look good, who supported your ambitions while downplaying her own. You never loved me. That's not true, he insisted. Isn't it? When I called you that night, desperate for help, where was your love then? When you chose Vanessa over me, where was your love? When you drove away, leaving me alone in that storm, where was your love? He had no answer. Goodbye, Ryan, I said finally. I hope you find peace with what you've done. I already have. As I walked away, I felt lighter than I had in months. The burden of revenge, of planning and scheming and manipulating lifted from my shoulders. I had confronted my past, faced the man who had left me to die, and walked away whole. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire. How's the Chicago trip? Still planning to be back tomorrow? I smiled, typing my response, yes. And, Claire, thank you for everything. I think I'm finally ready to move forward. 3 months later, I sat in my Boston apartment, reviewing quarterly reports when my phone rang. An unknown Chicago number. Emma Bennett, I answered professionally. Emma, it's Mike Johnson from Sterling. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Not at all, Mike. What can I do for you? He cleared his throat awkwardly. I thought you should know, Ryan resigned last week. He and Vanessa broke up a while back and he's been struggling. He left a letter for you. I paused, surprised. For me? Why? I don't know, Mike admitted, but he was insistent that I make sure you got it. Can I email it to you? Yes, that's fine, I said, curiosity getting the better of me. After we hung up, I checked my inbox. There it was, a scanned handwritten letter from Ryan. Emma, if that's really your name now. I don't know if you'll read this or if Mike will even send it, but I need to write it anyway. After our meeting in the park, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. The question of who you really are consumed me. So I did something I should have done months ago. I went back to the accident site on Highway 16. I don't know what I expected to find. Closure, evidence, a ghost. But what I found was worse. A memorial. A small cross with flowers, maintained by the truck driver who hit you. He was there when I arrived, replacing wilted roses with fresh ones. He recognized me from the funeral. We talked for hours. He told me everything, how he found you, how he tried to save you, how your last words were my name. He showed me the police report, the medical examiner's findings, the death certificate. There's no question that Emma Bennett died that night. So whoever you are, whatever game you're playing, you've won. You've destroyed me more thoroughly than I destroyed her. Vanessa left when I became obsessed with proving you were Emma somehow returned. I've lost my job, my reputation, possibly my mind. But strangely, I'm grateful. I deserved this punishment, and worse for what I did. The guilt I've carried since that night has been unbearable, but at least now it's out in the open. I can't hide from it anymore. I'm leaving Chicago, going somewhere to try to make amends for the life I've lived, the pain I've caused. I don't expect forgiveness from you, from her memory, from myself. But maybe I can do some good in the world to balance the harm I've done. Goodbye, Ryan. I set down the letter, conflicted emotions swirling through me. Had he really gone to the accident site? Had he spoken to the truck driver who saved me? Or was this just another of his manipulations, an attempt to extract sympathy or information? It didn't matter. Ryan Parker was out of my life for good, a chapter closed, a debt settled. I deleted the email and turned back to my work. Outside, rain began to fall, gentle and cleansing. I watched the droplets trace patterns on my window, no longer afraid of storms, no longer afraid of anything. In dying on that highway, I had been reborn, not as a vengeful ghost or an avenging angel, but as a woman who knew her worth, who refused to be discarded, who had faced her worst fear and emerged stronger. Ryan had abandoned me on that road, left me to face the storm alone. In return, I had given him the gift of truth, the mirror that showed him exactly who he was and what he had done. As for me, I had a life to live, a new life unburdened by the past, full of possibilities I had yet to discover. I opened my balcony door and stepped out into the rain, letting it wash over me, baptizing me anew. The woman who died on Highway 16 was gone forever. But I was still here, still breathing, still becoming who I was meant to be. And this time, no one would ever leave me standing in the rain again.